Every resource that gets created in Program Review will then have a corresponding request form. So I'm back here on the SIPS homepage, and this time instead of clicking on Program Review, I'm going to click on the Resource Request tab. And I'm going to scroll down and again click on one of the sandbox programs. I'm going to use this instructional sandbox. All right, so we get to this page. At the top of the page, the resource request form page, is all the fine print. And I will briefly touch on some of these items, and then I will also touch on them again as we view the actual forms. So a couple things off the top to mention is that items need to exceed $1,000 in total to go into the COB process. IT and technology-based AV equipment will need to have some kind of IT sign-off, and that can be done through a help desk ticket. The IT sign-off has to occur prior to the item being considered for the COB process as well. And then, as Paul already mentioned, we have the priority A or B items will go into the process. And the deadline for all requests to be completed is listed here, February 25th. Is that correct, Teresa? I know the date has been in flux a little bit, but as of now, it's February 25th is the deadline, and that includes the IT sign off. So that needs to be done by this deadline. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down to the actual interface. So in my sandbox program, the eligible resources that I have are shown on the left. So that means that in Program Review on that Planning for the Future page, the top ones are the FFE requests. So I had 3 resources that were identified for my program that were of the FFE type and 3 that were of the IT type. The priority that comes from Program Review is listed in this column, as well as the date that the resource was created. So there is a deadline for creating the resources in Program Review, and that I believe has to occur also by the deadline of February 25th. And we've added these dates and this color coding to help indicate whether a resource item is eligible to go into COB. So let's say it's March 1st, and I tried to create a resource. I would clearly see on this page the new resource I've created, the dates, and because I did not meet the deadline, under eligible for COB, I would see a no. So we've tried to provide some clear indicators about deadlines and why certain things may not be eligible to go forward into the process. Because we are before the deadline, all of my resources are eligible. So I have this edit button, and this is where we will actually edit the request form. So I'm going to go ahead and select, I'll just select the first one here, lab equipment, and click edit. Or actually, sorry, I want to select one that I have not done any work on. So here I see this one, a new resource. I'm going to come in, and this is a fresh request that I have not done any work on. We see some, again, information that comes from Program Review at the top. So the program, priority, the resource title and description, the strategy title and the strategy description, and those all, again, come from that screen and Program Review that Paul showed. So all of this in blue is all Program Review information. So I'll need to scroll down a little bit before I get to the part where I'm actually filling out the request information. And what we've tried to do is to decouple and make it so that we are not having to enter redundant data. So as you saw in Program Review, there's no totals or quantities or any of that pricing information. That's all going to be done on this resource request. So we have line items I can add. I'm just going to do just sample here. And it should total as you tab through this. If you need to, you can click the recalculate total. You can add items. So we can keep adding as many items as we need to include in this request. We do want the pricing information to be as up to date as possible, because this is what's going to be used throughout the process.
And Christina, I just want to add one thing to this.
Mhm.
Is because it's a 2-year process, it's going to be very important to reasonably forecast inflation and what. Now, I understand that the market has some severe fluctuation that we've experienced over the last year that we can't necessarily account for, but do account for cost increases, just typical cost increases for materials. Think about what your product's made of, where it's coming from, and do the best you can. I know that you're not all experts necessarily on these items, but do the best you can to think about adding, because that, when you get approved, if you go to purchase it and all of a sudden there's an extreme cost overrun, that's going to cause issues. So do the best you can to think about future costs.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you. Okay, so I am going to scroll down a little bit past the pricing information, and we have 4 fields of supporting information that are being asked for: program significance, urgency, strategic plan impact, and overall benefit cost. These are all required and need to be filled out as well in order for the request to go forward. What I'm going to do, just to show a little bit about how this process works, I'm going to go ahead and click save, even though I haven't entered any information into these boxes. Okay, so I'm going to come back to this page, and I'm going to see I was working on a new resource. So now the total is green because I'm above $1,000, which is the minimum criteria. But moving over here to the right a little bit, I see this column, resource details complete. And as you saw, I did not fill anything in there. So this is a no right here, thus the pink background. And then we move over to this last column, eligible for unit ranking. And that, because I did not fill out the resource details, is still a no. So we're trying to provide some transparency about all of the items that need to be completed in order for the request to move forward. And in a little bit, I will show what the unit ranking page looks like as well, just so you can get a glimpse of that. But for the time being, I do want to pop open the IT request form. So I'm going to come down and click on the edit, for instance, for Chromebooks. And the information that comes from program review, again, is the same in the blue box at the top. But for IT requests, there's a little difference, and we have this orange box here. IT consultation is required for all COB IT requests. And in this instance, the consultation has been complete. So it says yes. I'm going to click back. I'm going to select a request form that I can see the IT consultation has not been completed. I'll click edit for that. So I can see here the answer is no. The instructions on how to complete the consultation are in this orange box. There's a link to the help desk ticket. If I click that, it will take me directly to submit a help desk ticket. And that is the way to get the consultation completed. Fill out the help desk ticket. IT is ready to help everyone go through their IT requests or media services requests. And when that has been completed, someone in IT will go through and mark the consultation complete. Other than that, the rest of the items on this page are the same. So we have the same line items, as well as the same fields of supporting information. Does anyone have any questions about the IT process for consultation?
I would just, maybe not, this is not a question, I just wanted to share with folks, as Christina mentioned, you know, it's really going to be incumbent upon folks to kind of backwards plan, you know, to that due date of February the 25th to ensure that that IT consultation council happens. I certainly appreciate that there's a lot of things that are, you know, we're all dealing with, but I mean, the consultation is very critical, just as it's outlined in that statement in yellow there. It's just ensure that there's compatibility, that, you know, we can be supported. I know Stephen and his team is ready, and this is something that again has been we've not been able to kind of fully have this step in the past, and we have run into some challenges in terms of, you know, just the correct equipment and cost and so forth. So this is definitely a step in a direction to just make sure that this is a complete request as it comes through, but just definitely remember to plan some time for that consultation to happen and then to hit, you know, final send off if that is something that's part of the package of COB items that you'll be requesting.
Yes, and I believe IT has indicated that in general, this isn't a hard and fast rule, but in general, the consultations will take about a week. So at the very least, backwards plan for that much, if not a little bit more, just to be comfortable. But that is about the amount of time that you can depend on it taking. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Okay, so now again, for IT request forms, we have the same set of columns with the addition of the IT consultation being complete. And then that is an additional requirement in order for a request to be eligible for unit ranking. So you can see here with these columns of criteria that it's hopefully a little bit more transparent as far as why certain requests are moving forward or what portions of requests still need to have to be completed in order to get to the point where you can move forward. And of course, the expectation is that a lot of these requests may take, you know, days or weeks to fill out. But the goal is just to make sure that you're getting this eligible for unit ranking green by the deadline. I want to pause and see if there are any questions before I show the unit ranking screen.
Hey, Christina, maybe go back to the resource details complete, because I do want to underscore before we get to the ranking list that, you know, I would imagine that within the programmatic areas, they're really going to rely on those answers to rank the respective item. Okay. And I will say the resource committee themselves, I mean, when we get the IT requests and we get the FFE requests, I mean, that is the basis on which individuals use to also come up with the college-wide rankings. And so it's very, very important that those be completed as thoroughly and completely as possible.
Sure. Yeah, I'm going to go back to a new resource here, which is the one that I left the details off of. So I'm going to click edit. And I can come back in and work on these forms, edit them, and save them as many times as necessary up until the deadline. So I'll just, okay, so once I have information in all four of those, so now this was pink before and said no, but now it's green across the board, and I have all of my resource request forms good to go. As you can see in IT, I still have a couple IT request forms that are not good to go. But again, as Teresa said, it's very important to fill out the information that the information on these forms is the only thing that will be seen for the voting process. So if it's not on there, then the committees that are voting on these items are just not going to have that information. And if it's pertinent, it's best to include that and be as thorough as possible.